Bonus objective time! I put in some movies that take place during the Christmas season, and it seems you all really wanted Batman, so I'm giving you Batman, with Batman Returns. Not the first time I'm doing a sequel before the original, but hey, it happens. Now, for those who don't know, Batman Returns is the second in a 4-film Batman series that started with director Tim Burton, who was approached by Warner Brothers to direct a movie adaptation that harkened back to the character's darker roots when he first appeared in Detective Comics back in 1939, as opposed to the public's perception of him at the time as a campy, kid-friendly do-gooder, thanks in part to the 1966 Adam West TV series. Needless to say, the movie, Batman, was an enormous success, coining the phrase Batmania as it garnered praise from critics and fans alike, and even grossed $411 million at the box office back in 1989. When the studio wanted a sequel, they asked Tim Burton to direct again, though at first he was disinterested because he wanted to make a film he would want to make. Once he was told that he would have more creative control, he signed on. However, Sam Hamm, writer for the previous film, would be replaced with Daniel Waters, who wrote Hudson Hawk and later Demolition Man. While the first movie featured Batman's origins and his encounter with the Joker, this movie would shake things up by including 2 other characters from Batman's Rogues Gallery, with the tagline for one of the posters even saying, "The Bat, the Cat, the Penguin." And true to its word, there are a lot of bats, a lot of cats, and a whole lot of penguins. But even with the kind of marketing that matched the original, it would not reach the level of success of the first movie. And why? Well, why not just show you? In line with its 30th anniversary and the holiday season, let us witness Batman Return. So after the Warner Brothers logo, we zoom in on a large mansion known as Cobblepot Manor on a dark winter's night in December, where we see Tucker Cobblepot, played by Paul Reubens, tending to his wife, Esther, played by Deanne Slinger, who had just given birth to a baby... Oh, come now, it can't be that bad! Don't look, Loki. Ashamed, frightened, and embarrassed at their monster of a child, especially for the potential damage it could do to their social status, the Cobblepots decide to drop their baby, named Oswald, into a river near an abandoned zoo. On a lighter note, Paul Reubens would play a much nicer iteration of Oswald's father in Season 2 of the Fox TV series Gotham in 2016. While little Oswald floats through the sewers, we get the awesome and legendary Batman theme, once again provided by Danny Elfman. Eventually, Oswald's basket arrives just in front of a group of penguins, who somehow survived being down here this whole time. But oh well, 33 years later, and with an amazing view of the cityscape, it's Christmas time here in Gotham City, and they're just about to light the tree. See? Christmas movie! However, it seems that news about a possible Penguin Man sighting is making the rounds. And given the stranger in the sewers with oddly shaped gloves, I wonder if they're connected. Otherwise, we see the return of Michael Gough playing Batman's faithful butler, Alfred Pennyworth. Just going to say right now, he plays the character in all 4 of these particular Batman movies, and he plays the part well.
My dear boy, sometimes it's a diversion to read such rubbish. Most of the time, it's a waste of time. Moving
on, we're introduced to another potential antagonist for the movie, Max Schreck, played by Christopher Walken, a major industrialist who has his eyes set on building a power plant to further his own interests, though he also runs a department store whose mascot looks an awful lot like if Felix the Cat appeared in Bendy and the Ink Machine. Well, that's a creepy thought. The character's name is a homage to the actor who played the first on-screen iteration of Dracula in 1922's Nosferatu, because we all know how much Tim Burton loves old gothic horror films. He also has a secretary, Selina Kyle, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, who seems rather timid.
I have a suggestion. Well, actually really just more like a question.
As Shrek prepares to give a speech at Gotham Plaza, Selina notices that he left his speech notes behind, so he's forced to wing it, talking about how much he's given Gotham. But before long, a giant Christmas present slowly and ominously makes its way towards them. Ooh, I wonder what's inside. Aw, you shouldn't have. By the way, just listen to the music in this scene and tell me that it doesn't remind you of the song Making Christmas from The Nightmare Before Christmas. Anyway, these are members of the Red Triangle Circus Gang, and they're here to shoot shit and attack people. Their members range from clowns to jugglers on stilts, a fire eater, a strongman, and even an organ grinder with a monkey. And a Gatling gun! So, a typical day in Gotham City. They want Shrek, but his son, Chip, played by Andrew Baranski, yells for him to leave while he holds them off. Meanwhile, at Wayne Manor, we see Bruce Wayne, once again played by Michael Keaton, brooding alone in the dark until the bat signal beams in the sky. Frickin' epic! He speeds off in the Batmobile while the Hell Circus wreaks havoc on the city. Oh, that's cute. Here, have a little fire, Mr. Devilman. So violent. And yeah, that's one of the main criticisms people had with this movie. We're only just getting started, but let's just say, compare the action of the first movie with this one, and you'll notice a huge spike in just how dark the movie can be. Selina gets caught by one of the clown thugs, so Batman steps in to save her with his trusty bat hook.
You missed.
What a bit. Now let's talk a little about Batman's suit in this movie. Like before, it's designed to where he can't turn his head normally and has to move his upper body. But while the first film's suit wasn't perfect, looking a lot rougher, with the bat symbol having tiny legs, and the cowl looking a bit too big for the head, this new suit is a lot more sleek and streamlined, with a more armor-plated looking chest, and a more comic-accurate bat symbol. And while his boots were disguised Nikes in the first film, he now wears a pair of disguised Air Jordans. Not too big of a difference, but still fitting to the character we know and love. Once he leaves, Selina notices the taser the thug had and decides to take it. Hey, living in a place like Gotham City, I don't blame her. Otherwise, despite the baddies being beaten, Shrek is still missing. He finds himself near some large face in the wall, and the mystery man with the umbrella that we keep seeing decides to pull him under. As we zoom over the eerie remains of the abandoned Gotham Zoo, we meet the one responsible for all of this.
I believe the word you're looking for is...
Hey, it's the Trash Man! I mean, Danny DeVito. Yep, Danny DeVito plays a now grown-up Oswald Cobblepot, or rather, the Penguin, as the newspapers have dubbed him. While he bears a slight resemblance to his earlier incarnations, this version was a total reinvention of the character by making him more monstrous by design. Using a combination of prosthetics and makeup provided by the late Stan Winston, based on Tim Burton's own sketches, they gave the Penguin an over-the-top Burton-esque feel, making him more animalistic rather than the sophisticated gentleman of crime from the comics. While he does still have his trademark long nose and assortment of trick umbrellas, He now has pale skin, along with flipper-like hands, sharp teeth, long matted hair, and a greenish-black bile that oozes from his mouth whenever he over-exaggerates his words. Danny DeVito is virtually unrecognizable in the makeup and puts on a fantastic performance as the maniacal monster the Penguin makes himself out to be. And right now, he wishes to use Shrek in his own schemes since he sees him as a fellow monster for what he does.
I know all about you. What you hide, I discover. What you put in your toilet, I place on my mantle.
Ew. More than anything, he wants to be seen as human and learn who he really is by finding his parents. Seems like a reasonable offer, but why should Shrek help him? Easy, because if he doesn't, the Penguin will blackmail him on all the illegal activities he's been a part of, such as toxic waste from his textile plants, shredded documents that he claims he owns half the fire traps in the city, and as for his old business partner Fred Atkins, well...
Hi, Max, remember me? I'm Fred's hand. Hey, you want to greet any other body parts? Remember, Max, you flush it, I flaunt it.
Well, that's enough to convince Shrek, since he don't want to go to jail. Over at Selena's apartment, we see she has her own pet cat that gets around a lot. She also dislikes her own life and the people she works with. She's called back in to prepare a meeting between Shrek and Bruce, and has a run-in with her boss. He questions what she knows, since while she was legitimately getting what he needed, she had to look through protected files that reveal what Shrek was actually going to do with the power plant, sucking up all the power for himself instead of distributing it to the rest of the city. And you know what Curiosity did to the cat, right?
Bully me if it makes you feel big. I mean, it's not like you can just kill me.
Actually, it's a lot like that. Huh?
Oh, I guess he took it better than... Jesus! Okay, never mind. Shrek's a total psycho. Kinda figured that already, what with his ex-partner's severed hand and all. As Selena lays there, her black cat and many others begin to swarm around her body. They seem to help her regain consciousness, almost as if they were resurrecting her from the dead. And when she returns home, she finds herself changed, as if she had awoken from a long coma after hearing a perfume ad from Shrek's department store on her answering machine, and realizing just how sucky her life really is. She has a complete mental breakdown and finally snaps.
This is what your family goes through, and your friends, and mine! Any questions?
Soon, she begins taking apart a black rubber raincoat she owns in order to stitch together a whole body costume.
I don't know about you, Miss Kitty, but I feel so much yummier.
Must be the catnip. The next day, the mayor denounces yesterday's attack when one of the clown goons steals his baby. After going into the sewers, though, he seems to fake being attacked by the Penguin, who then emerges aboard a giant rubber duck-like boat, having saved the baby. The moment is shown on TV, with him announcing his desire to find who he is and stuff.
They felt they had to do to a child who was born a little different.
It's clear that Shrek is helping the Penguin access the birth certificates in storage at the Hall of Records, and while it looks like he is looking for his own papers, he seems to be writing down other children's names. But what for? By the way, this is the only time in the movie where the Penguin wears a monocle like in the comics. Meanwhile, Bruce is looking into the Red Triangle Circus Gang and their connection to an old circus of the same name that was disbanded years ago, due to accusations of being involved in child abduction. It's also listed that among the freaks employed at the circus's sideshow was an aquatic bird boy, who Bruce suspects might be the Penguin. But my question is, how do you go from being adopted by penguins in the sewer as a baby to being employed as a freak at a circus, and then becoming a mob boss? Bruce does a quick checkup as Batman, and I guess the police really don't mind penguins staying there all night. He suspects that the Penguin lied and already knows who his parents are, but he needs proof before he can do anything. The next day, the Penguin, wearing his signature top hat, walks through a cemetery, arriving at the gravestone for his parents. honestly, while this may be the character putting on an act to fool the public, given his backstory, you could almost believe he's being sincere about his feelings, especially with Elfman's score in this scene. Anyway, with his supposedly rediscovered identity, the Penguin announces his real name as Oswald Cobblepot, giving a speech about human nature and how they fear what is different and that he forgives his parents. This tells the public that the Penguin really just wants love and not to be judged by his appearance. Elsewhere, a lady gets mugged in an alleyway, only to be saved by...
I just love a big, strong man who's not afraid to show it with someone half his size.
Oh, hell no!
I am Catwoman. Hear me roar.
On the one hand, that was weird. On the other hand, it was also kinda hot. Okay, there's more to say about Catwoman regarding her appearance in the comics, but we'll save that for later. Bruce meets with Shrek about the power plant since he needs some kind of support, though Bruce argues against it, and Shrek's siding with the Penguin because he believes he works for the circus gang. When he tries to save face, Shrek is surprised by the return of Selena.
Selena.
That's my name, Maximilians. Don't wear it out or I'll make you buy me a new one.
This is Bruce Wayne.
Yeah, we've met.
Have we?
Seems Bruce is willing to open up some time for her given her advances, though she's working right now. Later, Shrek visits the Penguin at his new attic lair as he is going over the names he's written down and offers him a surprise. Even though he hates surprises. But he does provide fish. Oh yeah, also forgot to mention that underneath the Penguin's fur coat, he's dressed in a one-piece outfit reminiscent of the swaddling cloths he wore as a baby when he was abandoned. And yeah, it's pretty disgusting, especially with all the worn-out holes, sweat stains, and... ew! Something tells me he doesn't wipe. Anyway, Shrek wants Oswald to run for mayor so it'll be easier for him to set up his power plant. However, he seems to be having some trouble with Max's image consultants, Jen and Josh, as they try to make him more presentable to the voting public.
Not a lot of reflective surfaces down on the sewer, huh?
Well, I mean, if you don't count water.
Still, could be worse. My nose could be gushing blood.
He was asking for it. Naturally, the plan is to have the circus gang ruin the current mayor's reputation by wrecking the shit out of the whole city, with plenty of explosives and beatings to shake a PG-13 rating with. Not enough for an R rating back then, but, you know, Batman goes to kick some ass. Yeah, I'm sure that won't lead to anything. Catwoman, meanwhile, seems to hit up Shrek's department store to vandalize the place, while also acting a bit... playful? Well, cats do tend to have a sadistic sense of fun. You should see Loki hunt the critters outside. By the way, the scene of Catwoman whipping the heads off the store mannequins was all done in the first take, with Michelle Pfeiffer improvising the jump rope bit with the whip, because she was so proud of herself for nailing the scene. Speaking of, we almost didn't get Pfeiffer as Catwoman. Originally, Annette Bening was cast in the role, however, she had to drop out due to being pregnant at the time. After that, Sean Young, who was originally going to play Vicky Vale in the first movie, before being replaced with Kim Basinger after a horse riding accident, lobbied hard to play the part, even going so much as dressing up in a homemade Catwoman costume, storming into Warner Brothers executive Mark Canton's office, leaping over his sofa, and announcing that she was Catwoman. Damn! That's dedication to be sure, but yeah, no wonder you didn't get the part. Just a bit too much on your end. It only got worse after she appeared on the Joan Rivers show.
How dare you not make time to see the Catwoman? Not even so much as granting me a meeting. How very rude of you. After all, I was in the original Batman cast.
Talk about being a sore loser.
You poor guys. Always confusing your pistols with your privates.
Ooh, girl, you so sassy. She later cuts a gas line while putting aerosol cans in a microwave to set up a potential explosion later. In the meantime, here's something brutal. Jeez, Batman just straight up killed a guy! And he smiled before that happened. He knew what he did. He finds the Penguin, now dressed in a more Victorian-era inspired outfit, and accuses him of setting this all up. Not that he denies it, but even Penguin knows Batman can't touch him.
You don't really think you'll win, do you?
Things change.
You could have ran, instead of tiring yourself out like, holy fudge!
I saw her first. Gotta fly.
Hey, I call foul! Penguins can't fly. I mean, never mind. Batman catches up to Catwoman and they start fighting. She actually catches him off guard with,
How could you? I'm a woman.
I'm sorry,
but after he hits her with one of his gadgets, he does save her from falling. Then she tries to ask him, who's the man behind the bat? And yeah, the comics often depict these two as potential romantics for one reason or another. Of course, she was just looking for a weak point in his armor and...
Saved by kitty litter. Oh, bastard.
At the very least, one of her claws he recovered might act as a clue for later. Otherwise, Oswald begins his campaign for mayor, saying how the current mayor just lets bad things happen and he won't stand by it.
Mr. Cobblepot, you are the coolest role model a young person could have.
And you're the hottest young person a role model could have.
Well, you really are a monster. Waiting for him upstairs are Catwoman and Miss Kitty.
Just the pussy I've been looking for.
Ha ha ha.
You and I have something in common.
Appetite for destruction? Contempt for the czars of fashion? Wait, don't tell me. Naked, sexual charisma.
Okay, making the Penguin a malformed outcast was one thing, but also making him a dirty pervert is really taking away any potential sympathy he had. Anyway, Catwoman wants to team up with the Penguin so they can deal with Batman. But Penguin says he already has a plan to sabotage the Batmobile to explode and... Wait a minute. How the hell was he able to get the blueprints to the Batmobile? Anyway, Catwoman says killing him outright would just make him a martyr. So instead, she suggests making him out to be a criminal like they are by framing him. Penguin doesn't trust her, of course, given her actions, and she decides to tease him by... eating his pet bird? Look, I know you're Catwoman, but...
Kitty.
Yeah, Penguin's not like the other guys she's dealt with. While he is rather pervy, he's not the kind of guy to fall for Catwoman's cheap threats and goes, "You eat my bird, I skin your cat." And yes, Michelle Pfeiffer actually did hold that bird inside of her mouth for this scene. With enough sexual arousement, Oswald is convinced and he broadcasts a message for the mayor to relight the tree and for Batman to come and hopefully keep the peace. Obviously, it's part of their plan to frame Batman for something, and even Bruce knows something is up. However, he did promise to go out with Selina, so he walks with her. They discuss the media talking about Batman and Catwoman while seemingly hiding each other's secrets.
It's gonna be a hot time on the cool town tonight.
Hey, didn't the Joker say that in the first movie?
Oh, there'll be a hot time in the old town tonight.
Listen, why don't you come over and we can watch it together on TV?
What?
The tree lighting ceremony.
I can't. I have to be somewhere tonight.
How about if you come over for an early dinner?
I think this is the most I've seen Bruce show interest in possible romance. In any media I've seen, at least. Of course, again, Selina I often see being paired up with Bruce in various iterations, especially since more often than not, Catwoman is considered an anti-hero who bounces between doing acts of good and acts of crime, depending on her mood.